Hello everyone and welcome back to Dearsley. In this video I'm going to make the diorama I mentioned in update 12 where I want to extend the visual look of my layout beyond the bridge. So this requires a small diorama to be placed in my fiddle yard and lit so that it will appear the same as the scenery this side of the bridge as I travel down towards the scenic break. So it's meant an interruption to my main diorama, which is the town centre, and I am quite keen to get on and do some running videos. So I do need this diorama in place. This coupled of course with the signal, but that'll be another video. So what I've proposed to do is to, with apologies to my dinky followers, is to shelve any future dinky restorations and for the next few months to concentrate on the work I need to do at Dearsley. I've needed it to be quick really. It doesn't need to be over detailed because the view of it will be through the limited access of the arch of the bridge. So let's clear the decks and get on with it. This is intended to be a fast build. I don't want to overthink it, and I will be making it using saved pieces and leftovers from earlier projects. I have an idea of what I want in my head. Access to its eventual location is tight, so I will be making it on my workbench, and there is no detailed plan. The diorama base has been cut from 2mm MDF. This is easy to cut with a box knife, just by scoring the shape and snapping. The base needs to be adjusted. I will trim off the shaded area to clear the rails. This leaves a rough edge which is easy to trim. None of the edges will eventually be showing. The measurements have been taken from the bridge itself, and the depth of the diorama was a guessed distance that would allow all the view I needed. And this offcut was to be the end vertical. Eventually I decided to use this to extend the base of the diorama to the far wall. Time now to take into account a dummy siding that will add some interest to the view. I was going to use a straight, but as the track curved to the left, I decided a curved section would look better. Besides, it would display anything on the siding much more fully. It was this that finally decided me to extend the base, so I marked out the position with a pencil. I added some wagons and checked out the view through the bridge. It looks good. The base part is shown in position inside the fiddle yard. You can see the room for the extended base clearly. Now on to the back and side walls, which will represent a railway cutting. These I made from a large cardboard box. The walls need to be 6 inches high to ensure nothing will be visible above them when I'm filming from the other side of the bridge. Here you will see the exact moment when I realised I was cutting this wrong. So much for not having a drawn plan. Still, want not, waste not, I figured I could simply recut this and carry on. Here you can see the section of MDF that will become the base extension. I happen to have a length of stripwood saved from an old bed frame. I thought this would serve to join the base and the sides in one go. This I marked up in an unnecessarily precise manner, as I simply whacked through it with a chop saw. Then I applied some glue and hammered in some pins. Only to discover the stripwood was warped. You're witnessing a true craftsman at work at this point. I decided to hold everything in place and glue up with the hot glue gun. It worked, which is all that really matters. So I glued the track in place as well while I was still on a roll. If you are a real craftsperson, you can open your eyes now. I am actually measuring this to cut the card for the longest side piece, which will be the measured length by 6 inches high. This is now hot glued in position to complete the bare bones of the build. Now I can glue in offcuts to create the shapes of the cutting sides. This completed, I filled the partitions with crumpled newspaper. Now it's time to cover this in a traditional way with plaster bandage or mod rock. Simply cut it into manageable lengths, dip it in water and apply it to the contours. Normally, any main areas of model scenery would need 2 or 3 layers of this plaster bandage in order to create a sturdy surface, free of the visible holes in the bandage itself. But I will be just using 1 layer. It is mostly hidden anyway, and it will not be viewed close up. Now all this needs to dry thoroughly, which means that I can do no more until the next day. Good progress though, I am very pleased. I should sleep well. All has dried overnight, so after breakfast I'm back and ready to paint. I will be using acrylic paint, an old dinner plate and a 1-inch paintbrush. The precise colours don't matter, but I used cobalt green, hue, burnt umber and yellow ochre. Truly, it does not matter which bright green, yellow or dark brown you use. The trick is to use water to make the paint flow and don't clean the brush. So start out by squeezing a good quantity of each colour on the rim of a plate, and start with one colour and do most of your mixing on the scenery. Work quickly, your colours won't look muddy if you just stick to 3 colours. The results will look subtle and interestingly varied. Only stop when you are happy with the result. The acrylic paint dries quite quickly. You should be ready to continue after an hour or so. Now I want to add some more dimensions to the overall look by adding bushes and scatter material. If you have already done some scenery on your railway, you will be able to use some of the leftovers here. I started by fixing a Pico rail buffer to the end of the dummy siding. With a mind towards the viewing direction of this diorama, I placed most of the foliage in the corner and along the back. I used rubberized horsehair, thoroughly teased out, for the large bushes, and some clumped foliage from the Woodland Scenic range for the smaller ones. These were glued in place in the normal way with white PVA glue, which dries transparent. I then sprayed the scenery with craft glue, although you could use the diluted PVA, and sprinkled on some Woodland Scenic's blended turf. You could use any scenic materials you have to hand. I finished off with some red flowers. I can't remember what these are called, but the red colour gives a nice look to the otherwise green finish. They could be blossoms or even berries. They look good though, whatever they are. Technically that's the finish of the diorama, although it still can't be viewed properly because the opening through the fiddle yard was made for the old bridges which were lower. The increased headroom of the Metcalfe Bridge means that you can see the top edge of the opening, and I need to do some filing in this area to remove it. The opening is through a partition wall and is therefore made of timber framing sandwiched between plasterboards. Although messy, it was an easy job to file back the opening, creating the uninterrupted view I wanted to the scene beyond. A part of the wooden wall framework is visible, so I have used some scrap card to cover this. I will then paint it as before and add some scenic bushes. Some of the original baseboard beyond the bridge will also need painting in the same way, but I will only need to paint as much as I can get away with. This is a view of the diorama before I fitted it to the fiddle yard. The bare earth in the foreground has been photoshopped in to add to the sense of realism. The final shots show the view under the bridge without the diorama and with it in place. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you have, please subscribe, like and comment in the usual way. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.